It's an absolute game changer for public workers and retirees coast to coast. A federal judge has given Detroit permission to wipe away $18 billion in debt, but that puts the pensions of 23,000 workers at risk.
We had a American dream that if you worked long and you did the right thing, that you would end up being able to live comfortably. All I'm asking is that somebody give me what I earn. I'm not asking for a hand.
The Detroit bankruptcy is being closely watched around the country. Here's why. The Pew Center says 34 state pensions are not fully funded, covering less than 80% of retiree pension and health benefits, and other bankrupt cities are struggling to get solvent. This ruling could be an opening. I want to bring in Lee Saunders, president of AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, representing 1.6 million members. For those members, Lee Saunders, what does this ruling mean?
Well, it's a dark day for Detroit. It's a dark day for working families. It's a dark day for the retirees who have really worked for 30, 35 years, giving them their lives to public service, yet they've got a huge bullseye on their back based upon this ruling by the court. They earn, on average, our members earn on average $19,000 a year. Their pension benefits are $19,000, yet they are standing in the front of the line where they're going to get cut. Those benefits will be reduced. We think that that's unfair. We think it's immoral, and we're going to continue to fight legally. We're appealing the decision yesterday, but we're going to continue to educate the community in Detroit and across Michigan and across this country. You don't attack workers who have given their lives to public service at the expense of their pensions. I mean, they earned their pensions, as you heard the gentleman say. Those pensions were earned by them when they were working, and they deserve to retire with dignity and respect.
And you can't listen to those stories, and I heard a lot of them. I read a lot of them today. They're understandably panicked. They don't know if they're facing a 5% cut, a 50% cut. But here's the argument on the other side. For example, Vallejo of California, which spent 3 years in bankruptcy, they tried to get back on track without touching pensions, and they couldn't do it. In some cases, cities have had to reduce services, things like police, in order to pay retirees. So the question is, can these cities, which are in so much trouble, can they get a goal and still protect pensions?
Well, look, nobody is saying that urban areas and cities across the country are not experiencing fiscal difficulty. They are. But we've got to be creative, and we've got to think outside the box as far as how we resolve those kinds of problems. You don't resolve those problems by forcing retirees to give up more in pensions. You might want to resolve those problems by having corporations, having companies pay their fair share and not continue to give huge tax breaks equaling billions of dollars in cities and states across this country. It's all about priorities, and that's what we've got to continue to educate and mobilize the public about. It's about priorities. I mean, Governor Snyder, and I believe that this has been his plan from the beginning. He is the chief executive officer of the state of Michigan. He's the governor. Pensions are covered in the Constitution, in the state Constitution. He could have easily said, we've got a problem in Detroit, but we cannot hurt the most vulnerable. We cannot attack the most vulnerable. Let's take pensions off the table. Let's take a look at how taxes are being paid. Let's look at what corporations are paying. Let's maybe take a look at us cutting taxes rather than increasing taxes for those who can afford it. He didn't do that. He attacked the most vulnerable in that city, and that's wrong. Morally, it's wrong, and we believe legally it's wrong, and that's why we're appealing the decision.
Well, beyond that, obviously, we talked about this. Detroit could be just the tip of the iceberg. Yesterday, for example, Illinois lawmakers passed a measure to cut pension costs, including raising the retirement age. What do you see as the big picture fight here? What do you see as the impact of this decision for public retirees and workers today?
Well, I think that it will spread. I'm not convinced that you'll have a lot of cities filing for bankruptcy, but I am convinced that you will have action by state legislators and governors and mayors around the country to take the easy way out and to attack workers, to attack retirees, rather than looking at the overall picture and understanding and making the statement that in these tough economic times, everyone must sacrifice, not a certain segment of our population. Those who played by the rules every single day are trying to put bread on the table, keep their mortgages, keep their homes. They should not be punished. Again, I want to stress to you, Chris, that these retirees in Detroit average $19,000 a year. They're living by each check, whatever, if they get it every 2 weeks or every month. They can't afford to do anything else. They cannot restructure their debt as Wall Street banks can, as these corporations can. And it's completely unfair and it's immoral to attack these retirees and workers.
Lee Saunders from AFSCME, thank you so much. As always, it's good to see you.
Good seeing you.
I also want to bring in Rochelle Riley, who is a columnist for the Detroit Free Press. Nathan Bomey is a business reporter for the Free Press. Good morning to both of you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Rochelle, you spoke with the widow of a Detroit firefighter who was killed in the line of duty 5 years ago. She and her 6 children rely on her husband's $2,500 a month pension. Here's what she said.
For us not to be eligible to receive his pension benefits, which he definitely worked for and gave the ultimate sacrifice, it's a slap in the face. You know, I don't think that anybody should have to go through that. They shouldn't change the game at the end.
Rochelle, I know you've been talking to a lot of these folks who are going to be directly impacted by this. What are they telling you?
Well, first and foremost, they're scared to death. As Lee Saunders said, we're not talking about people who are living high on the hog. These are people who are living from paycheck to paycheck, trying to decide between food and medicine. In some cases, firefighters and police officers like Siri Harris there, that they really are just frightened and confused.
Well, part of that confusion, Nathan, obviously public pensions were once thought to be untouchable, and if you lived in Michigan, you thought you were protected under state law. And they don't know right now, right, just how steep these cuts could be.
Yeah, the Michigan Constitution does protect public pensions as a contractual obligation, but Judge Stephen Rhodes yesterday said that federal bankruptcy law will preempt the Michigan Constitution and allow those contracts to be cut. Now, Detroit Emergency Manager Kevin Orr has not said how much pensions will be cut, but he has said it has to be done to balance the books. His argument is there's not enough money to go around, so we have to have sacrifices. The question is, will it be a significant sacrifice, and how will the bondholders share in that sacrifice? How will the city's contractors share? That remains to be seen.
And Rochelle, Detroit's problems have been well documented since the decision was made to file for bankruptcy. Police response times nearly an hour, although the police chief does say they're much better. 40% of all street lights don't work. 78,000 buildings are abandoned. I mean, is there any sense that all this pain that is being gone through as a result of this bankruptcy could, in the end, reap some good benefits?
Well, I spoke with the foundation head last night who said that there is nothing else that can happen to Detroit. We can only go up from here. And I think there is a sense among people that that is what's going to happen. That there is time to do some out-of-the-box thinking, to have corporations to pay taxes to the city instead of to a development authority. There's been a whole discussion about selling art from the city's museum. While it is run by a private entity, that art belongs to the city of Detroit. Their assets, billions of dollars. So there will be lots of fights and lots of controversy and discussions for the next 6 months.
And we did hear Nathan Lee Saunders saying that they're already appealing this decision. What's the next step in this bankruptcy process?
Yeah, the appeals can go on, but the bankruptcy goes on too. So the appeals won't stop this case from moving forward. The next step is Kevin Orr, the emergency manager, will propose a plan of adjustment. That's a reorganization plan that would allow the city to eventually exit bankruptcy. Their goal is by September of next year, but we expect the creditors, especially the unions and the bondholders, to fight it aggressively and try to force Kevin Orr to give concessions.
Nathan Bomey, Rochelle Riley, we're going to continue to follow this closely. We hope you'll come on again. Thank you so much for being with us.
Glad to do it. Thanks.
Thank you.